Hello everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to our next Dive In with Dom. We have a very interesting, fun, practical session planned this evening, in which we're going to look at a very interesting feature of our experience, something we've been exploring the last 3 sessions. And that is this whole sort of breakdown of our experience, you could say, into being and doing and flowing. 3 things that are going on all the time. So, quick intros. It doesn't look, I think I recognize everyone. Anyone here for the first time? Oh, there is, yes. Madeline. Well, welcome. Nice to see you here. And Gita. Okay, welcome. And anybody new to inquiry? Anybody who doesn't do inquiry? Oh, okay, also new to inquiry. All righty, good. So you're going to have an interesting adventure. So then, by way of introduction, and Sonia as well. Well, welcome, Sonia. Curious, nice to see a couple of new people here. So, Dive In with Dom is a public forum, as many of you know, so anybody is welcome to come along and attend. We do it once a month mostly, with a break over the summer, which is next month. And it's a forum in which we explore the practice of inquiry. So it's really part of my interest in raising awareness in inquiry and helping people find and learn about the practice. So inquiry is the main practice of the Diamond Approach. I'm a Diamond Approach teacher myself. And here in the room, I see many people, some of whom are very experienced Diamond Approach students. Some people are not Diamond Approach people at all. So it's really intended to give everyone a taste. And in each session, we explore some particular dimension or aspect of the practice. And so it's a public forum, as I've said. We record it. So everything that happens in this main meeting room is recorded. At some point, you will have an opportunity to go into a breakout room and do a little exercise. And that's not recorded. So that's just you and your exercise partner. And that's held confidential. If you don't want to do the exercise, you're free not to. You can drop off the call and rejoin a little later. But I encourage you to do it because it's an opportunity to really practice and try out what we're going to be exploring here today. Anything else I need to say? Well, I think that's good. So inquiry is about exploring our inner world, right? Exploring what's true for you. What is it that actually arises in your experience? And when we begin to examine our experience and get in touch with our experience, inquiry is very practical. We don't want to be sort of theoretically analyzing our experience or talking about it from a distance. We want to get really immediately in touch with it and to find out what's going on and what's true. When we do this, we sort of look at the different kinds of experiences that show up in our consciousness. We begin to notice, you might begin to notice different sort of classifications, like different features, you could say, that our experience has. Now, one of those features that we've spent a lot of time in these sessions talking about, and which is, there's a chapter on each in my book, Diving in the Inner Ocean, is the division of our experience into mind, heart, and belly, meanings, feelings, and sensations. Yeah? So that whole categorization it's one way of really looking at our experience. So you can see there are sensate experiences, things that we can sense in our bodies, sense in our consciousness. They have texture, they have solidity or aches or pains or flows or solid or fluid, right? Aliveness or deadness. These are all textures, right? They actually felt sense. So our perception as well, looking around and seeing, this is a sensate experience. So sensing is one dimension. Another one that kind of sits over it is feeling. So here you have your feelings, your emotions, your moods, all the kinds of different things a human being can feel: love, joy, and kindness, and frustration, and boredom, anger, and hatred. All of these are feelings, right? And so all of that goes under the broad banner of heart. So heart are feelings. And then in this way of looking at our experience, the third one is the mind, the meanings. So all of these things are meanings. They have a meaning that you can recognize, you can know. You know, love is love. Right? You might have ideas about it. It means something to you. You have a history with it. You have a picture of what it looks like. Right? So these are all elements of mind. Meanings, feelings, and sensations. And in a way, they're all there all the time, right? It's a little bit, I say inquiry is like diving into your inner world and exploring. So when you explore in the ocean, you see fish, you see plant life, kelp, and those kind of things. You see ocean currents and rocks and waves. So it's a bit like that, right? There are just different elements of your experience that are generally all going on all the time. Generally, there's some kind of meanings and feelings and sensations kind of happening a lot of the time. We may tend to focus more on one than the other. We may zoom in more on one, or we may be quite unaware of another. Some people are very not in touch with their feelings very much, right? How are you feeling? Well, don't really know. I'm just going about doing what I need to do. Other people not very in touch with their sensations. So for our inquiry to really be rich, in time we learn we need to include all of these, the meanings, the feelings, the sensations, because it's all a significant part of our experience. So that's one way of sort of breaking down the inner world, that we can look at different qualities of our experience. In the last couple of meetings here, we've been looking at another such division, another way of breaking it down. Three things that, I don't know why three, by the way, I don't read anything sort of magical or mystical into that, but it turns out it's also three, right? Three sort of different kinds of experience that are actually going on in some ways all the time. They're always happening. And we may be more focused on one than the other. So the three that we've been looking at, as I said in the intro, are being, functioning or doing, and flow. So these three things are, each is the subject, you could say, of several different spiritual teachings, right? So there are some spiritual teachings that really focus on being, on reality, on truth. Right? So they might look at love. They say the true nature, the nature of reality, the nature of human nature is love. Or maybe it's consciousness, or maybe it's beingness. So it's something that has this sort of this presence or isness or reality that we don't make up, we don't invent. It is what it is, and we can find out what it is. So that's the beingness. Some focus more on doing, on right living. How do you live your life? Stoicism, a popular one these days, that, it's all about that. It's all about right action, finding the right ways of living. And for some traditions, that's a very important thing. And then there are other traditions that don't focus on either of those two things so much, but tell us that reality is impermanent, that things are always changing, that the only constant is change, right? And that if we really zero in on the nature of our experience and look at it closely, the ultimate thing that we find is flow, that things are just changing and shifting, and that's how reality is. And if you listen to any one of those teachings, people who are particularly deep on one of them, they will make a strong case that that's the most important thing, right? So how do we bring them all together? How do we see that these are not actually contradictory things, but that they're all important? They all have something to tell us about our experience. And in fact, they are all going on in our experience pretty much all the time. So what we're going to do is begin looking at this, and we're going to do it in a very practical way. So in each of the last three episodes, for want of a better word, we went into looking at being, looking at functioning or doing, and looking at flow. And now we're going to explore how they all come together. And we're going to do it in a very practical way. So I'm going to invite you to find, okay, let's notice just what happens right here. I'm going to invite you to do something, right? So I want you to notice the doing. What I'm going to say is find a comfortable position for meditation. Arrange your body in a certain way, right? So you want to be sitting so that your body can feel stable and grounded. Your spine is upright and relaxed. So you're not falling forward, you're not falling backwards or nodding off. Yeah. Now, can you see you're doing? All of these are doing instructions. Right? So find your posture and then begin to sense your feet and your legs. Sense into your feet and your legs. Again, you might notice that this is a doing. I'm giving you an instruction and you are focusing your attention in a certain way. Right? That is the practice involves a doing. Sense your bum in the chair, your spine rising up, and sense your head floating atop your spine, aiming for the sky. And take a nice deep breath. Notice we're still doing. Sense your face. Relax your eyes and your jaw. And then bring your attention down into your torso. Feel the movement of your breath. And invite your attention down into your lower belly. So everything that I have said so far is a doing. I have been inviting you to do, to arrange your body, to focus your attention in various ways. And you've been doing that. So now here's a flow. Notice how that's affecting you. How is your state changing from when you first sat down or we first started this practice to now? Has something changed? Probably it has. So there's a dynamic flowing change to your experience. And by doing something, by doing the instruction, you have brought about some kind of change. Now, focus on your lower belly. Focus on the sensations of your lower belly. What do you sense there? What is it that you can sense in your lower belly? Now, here you might notice that what you can do is hang out, focus your attention there, and see what you can find. That's the doing. But the sensation that you find in your belly is not something that you're doing anything about. All you're trying to do is find out what it is. See what it is. What do you sense there? What do you get in touch with as you sense into your lower belly? Now, I can suggest a whole lot of things. It might be the warmth of your hand, the pressure of your belt, the fullness of your meal. Maybe you sense some kind of energy. You're not trying to make anything happen. You don't have to make it be one thing or another. All you want to do is get in touch with what it actually is. So this is the being part. This is the non-doing part. Right? The doing is the focusing, but the getting in touch with what it actually is and finding out what that is a non-doing. You're not trying to make anything happen. You are opening yourself to whatever is being there and allowing yourself to be in touch with it, to sense it. So now I'll give you another doing instruction. Place your attention on the sensations of your lower belly, whatever they are, and try to keep it steady there. Do your best to maintain a steady, unbroken focus there. If at some point you find you've wandered off and you're thinking about something else or getting involved with something else, as soon as you become aware of that, let that go and bring your focus back to your belly. The doing part of the practice is to either be sensing your belly or bringing yourself back to sensing your belly as soon as you realize you've wandered off. In other words, as soon as the flow of your experience has carried you away. When the flow has carried you away, your job is to bring yourself back. So we're going to take a few moments to just practice together, sensing the belly, letting it do whatever it does, letting it change however it changes as you're in touch with it. In other words, allowing the flow. And if you wander off, bringing yourself back to it. So you're holding your attention steady on your belly. That may be more foreground or more background. There is the sensation of your belly. You're not doing anything about that. You're just being with that. Letting that be, whatever it might be. And you're not trying to control it. You're letting it do and change, flow, however it does. So any one of these three may be more or less obvious to you. But in a way, they're all going on at the same time. The beingness of the sensation in your belly, the execution of the practice, which means you're not just getting up and walking around. You're functioning in a certain way. And then the effect, whatever effect it's having. And then let go of noticing that and simply come back to sensing your belly. That's the instruction. Just that. And then let go of the focus. And we'll end that practice. Take a moment to notice, what are you sensing in your belly now? What is actually there for you? And then notice, how has the practice affected you? This few minutes, how are you feeling? How is your mind? How is your state compared to when you started? And then begin sensing your arms and your legs, tuning into the physical sensations of your arms and your legs. Consciously sensing. And add consciously listening. including the soundscape around you. And when you're ready to, you can let your eyes gently open and begin consciously looking. So you're sensing, looking, listening. In touch with your sensing, looking, listening. And you see the same three continue, right? You're doing something. You've now been sensing, looking, and listening. And it's bringing you in touch with something. It's bringing you in touch with whatever it is that you're sensing, looking, and listening. You don't get to decide that. You don't make that happen. It is what's there, and you can be in touch with it. And how does it affect you? How does it affect you to be sensing, looking, and listening? So you see these three, I don't know what to call them, three features, three modes, maybe mode is a good word, three modes of experience are really going on all the time. And when we engage in practice, we're engaging all of them. We're doing something. Our doing is directed towards being, tuning into being in some way. And that has an effect. Always, actually. Doing, non-doing, and change. I like looking at it in meditation because in a certain way it's a simple thing that we're doing there. So it's easier to see. All easier to see. So I'm curious, what you make of that? Did you see that? Do you have a question? We'll go on to shortly look at how it all plays out in inquiry. But before I go there, I'm curious if you have any questions or anything you want to ask or share. Yeah, Umtraut.
Hello.
Hi.
I get distracted because I don't feel anything other than my hand on the belly, and there's the super ego coming in, saying, "Well, you ought to feel something else. It's this is boring." Kind of thing, because there's nothing happening. There ought to be something else happening other than just the warmth of your hand.
Says who? How do you know that? Says who? How do you know that?
Well, I just assume that everybody else, when I listen to other people, they say, "Oh, I can feel this in the belly and that and this and that," doing their inquiry. And I thought, gosh, I never feel any of that.
Yeah.
So and what's the comparison going on?
Right, some kind of comparison. So this is where we get clear with our practices. So in the meditation practice, right, the instruction of the meditation practice is it doesn't matter what you sense, you just sense it, right? So it doesn't matter if it's just your hand, it's completely irrelevant. Your job is to just sense that. If that's what you sense, just sense that, right? There's nothing in the meditation instruction that says it should be anything else. Right? What happens when I say that?
Yes. Yeah. It's like the assumption, there's some kind of assumption going on in me that I ought to feel more.
Right. So I would challenge that assumption. Maybe that's exactly right. What if you just spend the whole time sitting there, feeling the warmth of your hand on your belly? Wonderful. Just do that for half an hour. That'd be a great meditation.
Mm.
So from the pure practice of meditation, right, that's the orientation actually. But from inquiry afterwards, there is something to get interested in there, kind of like we're doing now, right? What makes you say it should be different? How come you think it should be different, right? And if your superego is getting on your case, then that is something you need to work with, because your superego will just keep getting on your case until you actually sort of work with it a bit and inquire into it and see what's going on there. It's good not to do, because otherwise you could just sit there and spend, 20 minutes under the whip of your superego, which in the period of meditation is exactly what you should just carry on sensing your belly. But we know that afterwards, you can be more skillful than that, that it's not good to just leave your superego running the show like that, making you feel bad, right? That's not going to be good for your practice. But I would definitely look into that assumption that it should be something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And, a lot of it is just tuning in, hanging out. Okay. Feel the warmth. Well, I just feel that warmth. Let me just sense that. Stay with that for a bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome.
May I say something?
Yeah, sure.
It's me, Pauline.
Hi, Pauline.
And I wanted to really follow up that lovely comment about there's no ought, really. Also, I find this a very skilled IT trained person told me that my iPad really is faulty. And this was a comfort to me because I didn't quite believe him. I always think it's me who's faulty, in the sense that I'm not technologically very skilled. I also wanted to tell you I've just recovered, in quotes, from a very, very severe attack of vertigo when the whole bed started going round and round at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Paul.
So, well, it's all come okay in a sense. I must have somehow managed to slide a bit of paper into my door so that somebody could open it. And I rang a young medical student who's just one exam short of being fully qualified. And bless his heart, he came and he got me a doctor, because I said, above all, I didn't want to be sent to hospital.
Oh, good. I'm glad that.
And it was the Sunday, the 1st of June. It's always on Sundays, isn't it, that things happen, good and bad. But it's in the lap of the gods, literally.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, sounds like you found yourself in a difficult situation and there was something you could do, right? You did something that actually fitted to that situation, right? And it had a good outcome.
Right? But the other thing I wanted to say is that although I've been trying to meditate for a long, long time, I mean, I don't really. I do it every morning. The thing I find most helpful is to hum, but even then it doesn't really, really work.
Mm-hmm.
It's my mind. I can't stop the world I want to get off, but it goes on and on. My mind just, I love words.
Right, right. So that then, after the meditation, becomes something to inquire into. Like, what is this mind that's kind of going on and on? So we did a whole episode on that actually some time back in terms of meditation, and I think it's would be very useful to look at it because people sit with these kind of barriers in their meditation and they let it carry on, for a long time because they don't know what to do about it. But inquiry can be very powerful here because you can sit down afterwards and go, oh, okay, so some part of my mind was really busy. Let me find out about that. Let me bring that part of my mind into the light instead of just spending my time trying to get away from it or shut it up, which never really works. And that can be very, very, very valuable, very good inquiry.
What I find also very useful is um, if I'm thinking about something or uh, wondering whether to do something or saying it aloud or something, I know don't do it. If it's meant to happen, it'll do it on its own.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Right. So you found something there that works for you. Good, Pauline. Sounds good. Nice to hear from you. We're going to keep moving now. So I want to move into the next part of what we're going to look at here. But I'm happy to hear that you got some help and support there. That sounds great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you. Okay, so now let us look at applying this actually in our practice of inquiry itself. And if we look at coming to our practice of inquiry, and again, think about how do you start an inquiry? So once again, seems common thread to the meditation we just did is you begin with some kind of question, right? You ask yourself a question. So I'm going to give you a question. Here's a question to contemplate. So where are you right now? What's up for you? What is up for you? This might be what's on your mind, right? What is occupying you? Might be what are you having feelings about? And how are you feeling? What kind of feelings are you having? Might be something that you're trying to do. So what do you, accomplish or work out in your life or make happen? So these are all different layers of what's up for you. So you can ask yourself that question, what's up for me? And once again, notice that the answering of it, the finding out, is not actually something you can decide. You don't really decide how you're feeling, what's occupying you, what's occupying your mind, right? Those are not in some ways things that you choose or make happen. But what you can do is open to the truth of them. You can find out that truth. That truth might be obvious. It might not be obvious. You might not really know. If I say to you, like, how are you really feeling? You might be, well, I don't really know how I feel right now. Don't really know something's bugging me, but I don't know what it is yet. So moment by moment, you can tune in to what is actually true for you. This is a lot of what inquiry is about. Taking the time to tune in to what it is that is true for you. It's a very personal thing. It might be something from your life. It might be just something in your process. It might be what's arising in your heart right now. Right? It might be how you were affected by something this morning. What's up for you? And then you can take the time to see something about it, to say, find out what it is, to talk about it a bit more, to bring it more into consciousness, to find out what happens in your inner world and in your experience as you do that. Right? So you can talk about the meaning of it, right? What it is that's going on, the story, the happenings. You can talk about how that's affected you, what you're feeling. So all of this is allowing yourself to get in touch with your experience. And inquiry is, on the one hand, a doing. You are doing something. You're talking about the truth of your experience. You're getting curious about it, right? You're actually giving yourself the time to find out what it is. And on the other hand, it is completely a non-doing, because you are not trying to make that truth be any one thing or another. You are open to the truth of your experience, whatever it is. If the truth of your experience is, well, right now I'm feeling really grumpy about such and such that happened, or right now the truth is that my superego is sitting on me, giving me a hard time and making me feel terrible about my meditation, right? This is the truth. This is what is actually going on in your experience. And you don't get to pick that. You can find it out. You can open to it. You can meddle with it. I mean, we try and mess around with our experience in all kinds of ways. Try to change it and make it better and want it to be more comfortable, or all of that. But if you really look at it honestly, the truth is kind of the truth. So there you see that beautiful juxtaposition between a doing and a non-doing. Right? They're both there completely. You are engaging and articulating, and sometimes the truth is really not obvious. So you're taking the time to kind of find out about it, and you don't know what you're feeling, or you don't know why it affected you in that way. We bring all the kinds of questions that we ask, right? I'm feeling really upset. I was feeling grumpy about that. Okay, how come I'm feeling grumpy? Like, what does that bring up in me that makes me grumpy? Where's that coming from? So these are all things that we can look into. Right? And in our practice, we ask these questions. We give them time to understand ourselves, to see where we are, to find out what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what it means to us, what it's bringing up in us. Sometimes parts of our history get activated. Oh, I found myself feeling like a little kid again. Well, that's kind of interesting. What's that like? Let me find out about that experience. So everything that starts to show up in your experience is completely valid. It is the truth that's showing up. And we want to be totally open to that truth. Right? So we diligently practice our doing to find out about it, engage with it, be curious about it, articulate it. And we diligently practice our non-doing to try not to mess with it, to not change it, but to just see what it is. What's it about? What's making it happen? Inquiry is often described as open and open-ended. Right? So open means you're open to whatever happens to be true for you. You're open to whatever the truth is. Right? We don't have a standard about it. The truth is the truth. We want to find out what's actually true for us. And then inquiry is open-ended. And this comes to the flow bit. Open-ended means we don't try to control where it goes. We don't try to make it go in a certain direction. That's also a bit of a doing thing. Eh? You're not trying to make your experience get better. You're not trying to make your experience go in one way or another. What you want to do is just get to the bottom of the truth of it. What is really going on here? What's making it happen? Where's that coming from inside me? Oh, okay, I got all grumpy. How come I got grumpy? Oh, well, actually, as I hang out with it, I realized that that hurt a little. I felt a little hurt in that situation, and that's what made me grumpy. Oh, okay, so then, oh, I got hurt. I wonder what the hurt was. We can get curious about the hurt. There's something to find out there. So we don't try to steer it. We don't try to make it go in a certain direction. And the implication of that is that the flow is free. We let our experience flow in whatever way it does as we inquire. It unfolds and changes and shifts. The very act of recognizing and seeing something, taking the time of the doing to see the actual truth, to recognize something about the truth, that has an effect. Often I talk about this in the book as the magic of inquiry, right? When you really recognize some piece of truth, then you can ask yourself a question like, so how is it for me to see this? How is it for me to be with this? And what you might find is that has an effect on you. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't know I was actually hurt there. I just thought I was, kind of a cranky person, but turns out that, oh no, I'm kind of sensitive. There's a sensitivity there, and there's some kind of hurt that I wasn't aware of before. That kind of makes me feel a little tender with myself, a little more understanding. Can you see some kind of flow happened? Some kind of transformation that's like magic, right? You don't make it happen. So this is the interesting thing about flow. Similar to being, flow is not something that you make happen, right? You can't steer your experience in a particular direction. You do something, and then the flow happens, and the flow is out of your hands, and it goes wherever it goes. But you can notice it. You can notice what it was, and you can notice how it changes. So in a sense, there is the isness of the experience. And the fact is that that isness is continually morphing and shifting and unfolding. It's like one of those lava lamps. And as your experience is doing that, you can do things that move that in various directions. And that's what a spiritual practice is really. It's a doing that engages your inner experience in a certain way to bring about a certain effect. And with inquiry, the effect is more truth, right? It's opening to the truth, finding out more and more about what's really true for you. So why don't we take this out for a little spin, right? So you're going to get in groups of 2, and you'll each have 5 minutes. And you want to take 5 minutes and just explore where you are. Like, what's up for you? What's going on for you? And every now and again, you might notice where you're finding out what that is, right? Not messing with it, just finding out what that is. And you could do it in a very simple way, like just, how am I feeling? Well, how am I feeling? Okay, let me take a minute or so and just talk about how I'm feeling, right? And then you're doing the practice, and you're discovering the feeling that's here, right? That's actually the non-doing. You're not doing anything to the feeling other than discovering more of its truth, more of what's there. And then you might see, how does that affect you? What's the effect of that? Right? So you're making space to just notice those three things. Try it out and see what happens. And then if you go through it, you can go back to the beginning again and you see, okay, well, where am I now? Right? I've gone through some kind of change. Let me see what's here now. And then you take some time to practice and discover what that is, and then see what you discover, and then see how that affects you. So you just have 5 minutes to play around with this, and then take 5 minutes together to just reflect together on the experience. Like, how was it to do this? What do you see about practicing, doing, about the non-doing, the just discovering what your experience is, and then the flow. How is it to see these three things? Okay, so the whole exercise will take 15 minutes. We'll add an extra couple of minutes for just saying hi and getting going, and we'll be back here in about 18 minutes.
Are folks in twos or?
Yeah, twos, Susan. I think twos are good. Because
So
it's
5, 10, and
each,
12?
and then 5 minutes each, and then a 5 minute discussion.
Got it.
In a few extra minutes, and then we'll be back.
Okay.
All right, have fun. Try it out and see what you discover. Okay, so welcome back. And let's see. I'm curious how that was for you, what you discovered, how it was to look at that. So anybody like to share anything or ask any questions? Now's your chance. Including if you had difficulty and it didn't make any sense to you. That's totally good too. So really, wherever you are. Miranda, go ahead.
Hi. I
Hi.
often find that things we were just talking about, things come up for me while you're talking or while we're doing a meditation or something. And by the time I get to the inquiry, it's more of just of a download really of what's just come up. So
Mm-hmm.
so I guess, the end result is that I have discovered something new, but not really during the inquiry. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
not much flow, maybe.
So you were more consolidating what you had discovered or what had landed in you.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. Well,
yeah.
that's a useful thing to do.
One way of doing it, I suppose. Yeah.
How are you feeling right now? What's happening now?
Well, I have been feeling very, very emotional. I'm still feeling very emotional. So it was a bit of an emotional kind of download, and I still feel like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it hasn't really, I mean, 5 minutes is not very long, but it hasn't really
Right.
brought a bit more clarity. But yeah, I
Uh-huh.
still feel quite emotional.
Okay, so there's a big thing here, right? Something
Yeah.
that's brought up significant feelings for you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that just needs a little time to hang out with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when there's a very big thing that's there, remember, we're not trying to do anything to our experience.
No.
It's a big thing that's there, then that's the thing to be with.
And I suppose I've become more aware of noticing it as I'm going along too. So yeah. So
Yeah.
it's more crystallizing it, I suppose.
Right. Actually recognizing it as
Yeah.
well. Do you
Yeah.
know what it's about?
Do I know? Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, I, discovered a couple of quite upsetting things over the last couple of days about myself and my issues.
Uh-huh. Right. Okay, so there's some kind of truth that's been revealed
Yeah, very much so.
that is upsetting, that's having an
Yeah,
impact on you.
yeah,
Yeah, so, that's something to really again, that's how can I say, the practice is always just being where you are and being with it and seeing what you can say about it. But the what it is and the how it unfolds, those are not really up to you. So it's good to just give it all the space in the world, all the time it needs.
Yeah, okay.
How is it when as you just recognize again, oh, well, this is quite a big thing.
Yeah, big thing.
How does it affect you just to see that?
It's been quite overwhelming, and actually I've been feeling quite panicky because I'm not very good at dealing with that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with it. I find it very difficult to just be with,
Right.
because I found it scary and yeah.
Right. So that's a good, again, we kind of get to our interface between being and doing. So what happens when the truth that we find, starts to get a little scary?
Yeah.
And sometimes there's something we need to do, not to necessarily change the truth, right? But whether it's having somebody to sit with us while we kind of explore it, or backing off and giving ourselves some time to navigate it, or taking it to a teacher or whatever it is, there can be things that we do that in time will help us be with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was able to, look at the reaction, I suppose, as well as, stand back from the
Very good.
reaction a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
What about the part of you that gets so panicky?
yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not good at regulating that kind of stuff. And
Mm.
my reaction is to go and research it all on the internet. And I'm thinking, no, that's probably not a good idea.
Right. Yeah. It's not quite what it needs. So you can tell that, you have some understanding of that.
Yeah.
How are you doing now, Miranda?
Um, I'm feeling a little bit better actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Better? How? What kind of better?
Not quite so about to burst into tears. Yeah. Yeah. And feeling I've got a bit more support.
Oh, yeah, good.
I'll get in touch with Marina.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? Yeah, Sharon.
Yeah, so um, something I've been experiencing a lot of is peace.
Peace.
Peace. Yes, finally.
Uh-huh. Finally,
Finally,
peace, eh?
through the head and through the head.
Uh-huh.
But I probably, this isn't particularly unusual for me, that there's a sort of thing that happened, there's a kind of intrusive, it's quite big, the piece, it's big piece.
Uh-huh. Big peace.
Big piece,
Mm.
spacious, soft.
Mm.
But then there's this thing, that comes in, this like this
Mm.
this sort of intrusive thought. It's
Uh-huh.
quite a common intrusive thought.
Hey, what's
Um,
the thought?
that something bad's going to happen in
Uh,
connection with my what to call them family, of want of a better word, but they're not really a family. There's people that I have some connection with via a financial connection. there's a feeling, it's almost sort of like paranoid. It's not huge, but it just intrudes on my peace.
I see.
And I really don't want my peace to be intruded on.
I see. You don't like having your peace intruded on.
I do not. You know, it's the first time in my life that I have ever felt
Right.
relaxed, relaxed and peaceful.
Wonderful. So again, like such an interesting juncture, Sharon, that you're pointing to. So you've gone through a whole process. The flow has brought you to this current beingness of this state of peace, right? Which is wonderful. And then the flow has brought this little intrusive something that kind of pops up and seems to disturb the peace, right? Now, the temptation, which you describe, is, of course, well, how do I get rid of it? Right? I don't want my peace.
I inquired into it. I know what it's about. It's to do with the truth, but it's a truth that it's something I don't like about this contract. I really don't like it.
Aha, I see. So there's a truth that there is something that you really don't like.
But I actually need it.
Okay. So how do you feel about that when there's something that you need and it's not your favorite thing?
It's not a great feeling, you know. It's
What happens?
I feel a bit angry. I feel a bit angry with myself. The sort of inner critic starts to get angry.
Okay. So some anger starts happening. Is it okay to let the anger happen?
And sort of frustration.
Anger and frustration.
Kind of like, oh God, you know. I mean, the truth is also you cannot just block out. You can't just be. You can't block out reality.
Right.
In
Right.
peace.
Right. But as you're in touch with reality and recognizing that, some kind of anger starts coming in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So is it okay to let the anger happen? To feel into the energy of the anger?
Yeah.
Right. What if you feel that?
Again.
Uh-huh.
About to do
Well,
bed in a bit. So it's like, yeah, it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, you know, because
yeah.
it's not it actually it shouldn't be complicated, but it feels complicated.
Right.
I don't think it's complicated for them actually, but it's very complicated for me.
Right. So when you're in this situation that feels complicated for you and like does something to you, something starts moving, going for fuck's sakes and wanting to, right? So it would be interesting. So here, again, like I said, it's another great juncture. So here you could ask yourself, what does it make you want to do if you were to express that anger? And I know you have some sense of this, but if you just let the anger do what it wants to do in your body.
Yeah, it's like it's just like, fucking hell, what, you know, it's like, it's sort of,
Yeah, exactly. Like that. So what if you just do that a couple of times, just like, yeah.
what, you know, it's
Yeah, do it again. Do it again. How do you feel as you do that?
There's a little bit of emotion as well, a bit of like, because they have power, I don't have any power. So
okay. Feel like you don't.
The power problem.
Right. Okay. So we don't have time for a whole kind of process here, but
No.
it's interesting to notice that as you recognize, I'm feeling powerless here, right? That something is coming up that is bringing some energy and strength. And it would be
also to do with being free, wanting to be free.
right. You want to be free. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So as you allow that response that is actually naturally arising, I know you know enough to have at least an inkling by now that the anger can unfold in that way, right? There's a good chance.
Pressure as well, a kind of like.
Right. So we know that often anger is a gateway to strength, to the strength and the power that will enable you to be with it. Right? And at some point, then you might find you let the anger, feel the energy, and you're like, yeah, okay, well, I'm here, and this is the situation, and I got what it takes to be with it. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a young part that feels scared. There's a young part that feels scared, I think.
Okay, good. So all of this truth is kind of revealing itself, all these pieces, right? You begin to see, oh, it's actually because there's something young involved here. So all of this needs to be seen and understood. And that will, as you do that, simply staying with each piece of it, letting it unfold, just doing our practice, which is to see what's true there, what it is that shows up, what it's about. The unfolding is already morphing and opening and revealing more.
I mean, one thing it doesn't actually stop the peace. The peace is still there, even.
Isn't that an interesting thing, right? Who knew?
In the back, I mean, still, I can feel it's like everywhere.
Right.
You know.
Lovely, lovely discovery.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's taken
not disturbed by being a little angry.
Hard won peace.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay.
All right, everyone, that brings us to time here. So it was fun hanging out with you again and exploring these little ins and outs of our practice and our inner world. And feel free to, write me if you have any thoughts or questions or suggestions, anything you'd like to see covered here. And I'm not going to see you next month. We have a little break over July, and we'll be back in August for our next time together. So many good wishes until then, and see some of you in other settings, and otherwise see you then.
Thank you, Don.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good summer, everybody.
Yes. Bye. Thank you, Don.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.